North American river otter. The North American river otter Lontra canadensis, also known as the northern river otter and river otter, is a semiaquatic mammal that only lives on the North American continent along its waterways and coasts. An adult North American river otter can weigh between 5.0 and 14 kg, 11.0 and 30.9 lb. The river otter is protected and insulated by a thick, water-repellent coat of fur. The North American river otter, a member of the subfamily Lutrinae in the weasel family Mustelidae, is equally versatile in the water and on land. It establishes a burrow close to the water's edge in river. The den typically has many tunnel openings, one of which generally allows the otter to enter and exit the body of water. Female North American river otters give birth in these burrows, producing litters of 1 to 6 young. North American river otters, like most predators, prey upon the most readily accessible species. Fish is a favored food among the otters, but they also consume various amphibians such as salamanders and frogs, freshwater clams, mussels and snails, small turtles, and crayfish. The most common fish consumed are perch, suckers, and catfish. Occasional reports also show the river otter eating other small animals, such as mice, squirrels, birds, and even dogs that they've attacked and drowned. The range of the North American river otter has been significantly reduced by habitat loss, beginning with the European colonization of the Americas. In some regions, though, their population is controlled to allow the trapping and harvesting of otters for their fur. North American river otters are very susceptible to the effects of environmental pollution, which is a likely factor in the continued decline of their numbers. A number of reintroduction projects have been initiated to help halt the reduction in the overall population. Taxonomy and evolution. The North American river otter was first described by German naturalist Johann Christian Daniel von Schreber in 1777. The mammal was identified as a species of otter and has a variety of common names, including North American river otter, northern river otter, common otter, and simply river otter. Other documented common names are American otter, Canada otter, Canadian otter, fish otter, land otter, Nearctic river otter, and Prince of Wales otter. The North American river otter was first classified in the genus Lutra. Lutra was the early European name from Latin, and the specific epithet canadensis means of Canada. In a new classification, the species is called Lontra canadensis, where the genus Lontra includes all the New World river otters. Molecular biological techniques have been used to determine when the river otter and the giant Otter Terrestrial brasiliensis of South America diverged. These analyses suggest they diverged in the Miocene epoch 23.3 to 5.33 million years ago MYA, which is much earlier than indicated in the fossil record. Fossils of a giant river otter dating back 3.5 MYA during the Pliocene have been found in the U.S. Midwest. However, fossils of the modern river otter did not appear in North America until about 1.9 MYA. The New World river otters originated from the Old World river otters following a migration across the Bering Land Bridge, which existed off and on between 1.8 million and 10,000 years ago. The otters migrated to North America and southwards again across the Panamanian Land Bridge, which formed 3 MYA. Subspecies listed alphabetically. L.C. Canadensis Schreber 1777 Eastern Canada, U.S. Newfoundland. L.C. Kodiasis Goldman 1935 Kodiak Island, Alaska. Cook. L.C. Lataxinacovier 1823 U.S. L.C. Mira Goldman 1935 Alaska, British Columbia. L.C. Pacifica J.A. Allen 1898 Alaska, Canada, northern U.S. south to central California, northern Nevada, and northeastern Utah. L.C. Periclesime Elliott 1905 Queen Charlotte Islands, British Columbia. L.C. Sonora Rhodes 1898 U.S., Mexico. Description: The North American river otter is a stocky animal of 5 to 14 kilograms, 11 to 31 lb, with short legs, a muscular neck no smaller than the head. They have long bodies and long whiskers that are used to detect prey in dark waters. An average adult male weighs about 11.3 kilograms, 25 lb, against the female's average of 8.3 kilograms, 18 lb. Its body length ranges from 66 to 107 centimeters, 26 to 42 in. About one-third of the animal's total length consists of a long, tapered tail. Tail lengths range from 30 to 50 centimeters, 12 to 20 in. Large male North American river otters can exceed a weight of 15 kilograms, 33 lb. It differs from the European otter by its longer neck, narrower visage, the smaller space between the ears, and its shorter tail. A broad muzzle is found on the North American river otter's flat head, and the ears are round and inconspicuous. The tip of the nose rhinarium is bare, with an obtuse, triangular projection. Eyes are small and placed facing the front, which is typical of predators. The skull is short and broad in the front rostrum for exhaling, and long and flat in the rest. The North American river otter's nostrils and ears close in water, keeping them dry. Its whiskers vibrissae are long and thick, enhancing their senses. The fur of the species is short. Guard hairs average 23.8 mm, 0.94 in, with a density of about 57,800 hairs/cm to 373,000 hairs/in in the midback section. The fur pelage is shiny and varies from light brown to black. The throat, chin, and lips are grayer than the rest of the body. Fur of older river otters may become white-tipped, and rare albinos may occur. Males and female river otters show different non-sexual physical characteristics, with males typically being larger. In Idaho, juvenile, yearling, and adult males averaged 8, 11, and 17% heavier, respectively, than females of the same age. A gradual reduction in size may exist from north to south along the Pacific coast, but not from east to west. North American river otters can live 21-25 years in captivity or 8-13 years in the wild. Form and function. The North American river otter is physically well equipped for aquatic life. The ears are short, the neck is the same diameter as the head, the legs are short and powerful, the toes are fully webbed, and the tail 1/3 of body length is tapered. These qualities give the North American river otter a streamlined profile in water, but reduce agility on land. The smell and hearing abilities of the North American river otter are acute. The North American river otter has a delicate sense of touch in the paws in addition to great dexterity. North American river otters characteristically approach within a few feet of a boat or a person on shore because they are near-sighted, a consequence of vision adapted for underwater sight. North American river otters have transparent nictitating membranes to protect their eyes while swimming. The right lung of the North American river otter is larger than the left, having 4 lobes compared with 2 for the left. Reduced lobulation of the lungs is presumed to be adaptive for underwater swimming. In addition, the length of the trachea windpipe of the North American river otter is between that of terrestrial carnivores and marine mammals. The mean tracheal length of the North American river otter is 15.3 cm, 6.0 in, or 23.2% of the body length. A shorter trachea may improve air exchange and increase lung ventilation in diving mammals. Most mustelids, including otters, have 36 specialized teeth, including sharp canines and carnassials that inflict lethal bites to prey. Also, North American river otters have large molars used for crushing hard objects, such as the shells of mollusks. Additional premolars may be present. The dental formula is 3.14.13. 1.32. Behavior. North American river otters are active year-round, and are most active at night and during dawn and dusk. They become more active at night in the spring, summer, and fall seasons, and more active during the day in winter. They may migrate as a result of food shortages or environmental conditions, but they do not migrate annually. North American river otters only settle in areas that consist of vegetation, rock piles, and sufficient coverage. Movement. North American river otters swim by paddling their legs, varying between the front and back limbs in different gaits. The body and tail also move up and down in a wave-like motion to help swim. The tail, which is stout and larger in surface area than the limbs, is used for stability while swimming and for short bursts of rapid propulsion. While swimming at the surface, the top of the head, including nostrils, ears, and eyes, is exposed above water. The river otter must keep swimming to remain above water. On land, the North American river otter can walk, run, bound, or slide. Footfalls during walking and running follow the sequence of left limb, right limb, right limb, left limb. When walking, the limbs are moved in a plane parallel to the long axis of the body. Bounding is the result of simultaneous lifting of the limbs off the ground. As the front feet make contact with the ground, the back feet are lifted and land where the front paws first contacted the ground, producing a pattern of tracks in pairs typical of most mustelids. Sliding occurs mostly on even surfaces of snow or ice, but can also occur on grassy slopes and muddy banks. Sliding across snow and ice is a rapid and efficient means of travel, and otters traveling over mountain passes, between drainages, or descending from mountain lakes often slide continuously for several hundred meters. Rear leg paddling enables continuous sliding where gravity is an insufficient or an opposing force. During winter, the North American river otters heavily use openings in the ice and may excavate passages in beaver dams for accessing open water. North American river otters are highly mobile and have the capacity of traveling up to 42 km, 26 mi in one day. Daily movements of yearling males and females in Idaho averaged 4.7 and 2.4 km, 2.9 and 1.5 mi in spring, 5.1 and 4.0 km, 3.2 and 2.5 mi in summer, and 5.0 and 3.3 km, 3.1 and 2.1 mi in autumn, respectively. Daily movements of family groups averaged 4.7, 4.4, and 2.4 km, 2.9, 2.7, and 1.5 mi in spring, summer, and winter, respectively. Both males and family groups travel drastically less during winter. Playing. North American river otters are renowned for their sense of play. Otter play mostly consists of wrestling with conspecifics. Chasing is also a common game. North American river otters rely upon play to learn survival skills, such as fighting and hunting. However, playful behavior was found in only 6% of 294 observations from 1976–1980 in a study in Idaho, and was limited mostly to immature otters. 5254. Hunting. Hunting. Ecological impacts on prey species. North American river otters do not dramatically reduce prey populations in the wild, generally speaking. When an existing food supply gets smaller or new prey becomes available, North American otters either move to a new place or starting eating new prey. When left unchecked, though otters can be significant predators under certain circumstances, e.g. in hatcheries or other fish culture facilities. Likewise, the potential predatory impact of otters may be considerable whenever fish are physically confined, most commonly in smaller ponds, offering sparse cover or other escape options. To protect fish in these cases, the otters may need to be removed or relocated. Even in larger bodies of water, river otters may take disproportional advantage of any seasonal concentrations of fish when and where only very limited areas of suitable spawning, low flow, or overwintering habitat may exist. Even fast-swimming fish like trout slow down in extremely cold water, leaving them vulnerable. As such, careful consideration of any threatened, endangered, or fish species of special interest is warranted prior to reintroduction of otters to a watershed. Although other prey species are of temporary significance to the North American river otter, the deciding factor whether the North American river otter can establish itself as a permanent resident of one location is the year-round availability of fish. Social behavior. The North American river otter is more social than most mustelids. In all habitats, their basic social group is the family, consisting of an adult female and her progeny. Adult males also commonly establish enduring social groupings, some documented to comprise as many as 17 individuals. In coastal areas, males may remain in social groups even during the estrus period of females. Family groups may include helpers, which can be made up of unrelated adults, yearlings, or juveniles. Male North American river otters disperse from such family groups more often than females. When females leave, they tend to move much further away 60-90 km or 37-56 mi than males up to 30 km or 19 mi, which tend to move shorter distances. Male North American river otters do not seem to be territorial, and newly dispersing males may join established male groups. On occasion, groups of unrelated juveniles are observed. North American river otters living in groups hunt and travel together, use the same dens, resting sites, and latrines, and groom each other. In freshwater systems, groups occur most often in autumn and during early winter. From midwinter through the breeding season, adult females move and den alone. River otters are not territorial, but individual North American river otters of different groups tend to avoid each other. Home ranges of males are larger than those of females, and both sexes exhibit intra- and intersexual overlap of their domains. Communication. Communication among North American river otters is accomplished mainly by smell and sound. Scent marking is imperative for communicating between groups. The North American river otter scent marks with feces, urine, and possibly anal sac secretions. Musk from the scent glands may also be secreted when otters are frightened or angry. North American river otters can produce a snarling growl or hissing bark when bothered, and a shrill whistle when in pain. When at play or traveling, they sometimes give off low, purring grunts. The alarm call, given when shocked or distressed by potential danger, is an explosive snort made by expelling air through the nostrils. North American river otters also may use a bird-like chirp for communication over longer distances, but the most common sound heard among a group of otters is low-frequency chuckling. Reproduction and life cycle. North American river otters are polygynous, meaning a single male will mate with multiple females. Females usually do not reproduce until 2 years of age, although yearlings produce offspring on occasion. Males are sexually mature at 2 years of age. The number of corpora lutea increases directly with age. North American river otters typically breed from December to April. Copulation lasts from 16 to 73 minutes and may occur in water or on land. During breeding, the male grabs the female by the neck with his teeth. Copulation is vigorous and is interrupted by periods of rest. Females may caterwaul during or shortly after mating. Female estrus lasts about a month per year, and true gestation lasts 61-63 days. Because the North American river otters delay implantation for at least 8 months, birth may not occur until 10-12 months after copulation. Delayed implantation distinguishes the species from the European otter, which does not do this. Young are born between February and April, and birth lasts 3 to 8 hours. In early spring, expectant mothers begin to look for a den where they can give birth. The female otters do not dig their own dens. Instead, they rely on other animals, such as beavers, to provide suitable environments to raise their offspring. When the mothers have established their domains, they give birth to several kits. Litter size can reach 5, but usually ranges from 1 to 3. Each otter pup weighs approximately 5 ounces. At birth, the North American river otters are fully furred, blind, and toothless. The claws are well formed and facial vibrissae about 5 mm 0.20 in long are present. The kits open their eyes after 38 days. The newborns start playing at 5 to 6 weeks and begin consuming solid food at 9–10 weeks. Weaning occurs at 12 weeks, and females provide solid food for their progeny until 37–38 weeks have transpired. River otters reach their maximum size after 3–4 years. The mothers raise their young without aid from adult males. When the pups are about 2 months old and their coats grow in, their mother introduces them to the water. North American river otters are natural swimmers and, with parental supervision, they acquire the skills necessary to swim. The North American river otters may leave the den by 8 weeks and are capable of sustaining themselves upon the arrival of fall, but they usually stay with their families, which sometimes include the father, until the following spring. Prior to the arrival of the next litter, the North American river otter yearlings venture out in search of their own home ranges. Geographic range. The North American river otter is found throughout North America, inhabiting inland waterways and coastal areas in Canada, the Pacific Northwest, the Atlantic states, and the Gulf of Mexico. North American river otters also currently inhabit coastal regions throughout the United States and Canada. North American river otters also inhabit the forested regions of the Pacific coast in North America. The species is also present throughout Alaska, including the Aleutian Islands and the north slope of the Brooks Range. However, urbanization and pollution instigated reductions in range area. They are now absent or rare in Arizona, Kansas, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Reintroduction projects have expanded their distribution in recent years, especially in the Midwestern United States. Since their reintroduction to Kentucky in the early 90s, they have recovered to the point that a trapping season was started in 2006, and the species is now found in all major waterways. In 2010, the Colorado Department of Wildlife reported the species, reintroduced in the 1980s, was thriving and recommended its protection status be reconsidered. In late 2012, a river otter nicknamed Sutro Sam took up residence around the former site of the Sutro Baths in San Francisco, the first river otter sighting in that city in more than half a century. In Canada, North American river otters occupy all provinces and territories except until recently Prince Edward Island. Otters have recently re-established themselves on Prince Edward Island. Historical records indicate North American river otters were once populous throughout most major drainages in the continental United States and Canada prior to European settlement. North America's largest North American river otter populations were found in areas with an abundance and diversity of aquatic habitats, such as coastal marshes, the Great Lakes region, and glaciated areas of New England. In addition, riverine habitats in interior regions supported smaller, but practical, otter populations. The North American river otter existed on all parts of the Pacific coast, including the seashore and inland streams and lakes. However, large populations never occurred in areas of Southern California, such as the chaparral and oak woodlands and Mojave Desert seasonal waterway regions, or in the xeric shrubland regions in New Mexico, Texas, Nevada, and Colorado. In Mexico, the North American river otters lived in the Rio Grande and Colorado River deltas. Habitat. Although commonly called a river otter, the North American river otter is found in a wide variety of aquatic habitats, both freshwater and coastal marine, including lakes, rivers, inland wetlands, coastal shorelines, marshes, and estuaries. It can tolerate a great range of temperature and elevations. A North American river otter's main requirements are a steady food supply and easy access to a body of water. However, it is sensitive to pollution and will disappear from tainted areas. Like other otters, the North American river otter lives in a holt or den constructed in the burrows of other animals or in natural hollows, such as under a log or in river banks. An entrance, which may be underwater or above ground, leads to a nest chamber lined with leaves, grass, moss, bark, and hair. Den sites include burrows, dug by woodchucks Marmota monax, red foxes vulpes, Nutria myocastor copus, or beaver and muskrat lodges. North American river otters also may use hollow trees or logs, undercut banks, rock formations, backwater sloughs, and flood debris. The use of den and resting sites is chiefly opportunistic, although locations that provide protection and seclusion are preferred. Population localization. Aquatic life ties North American river otters almost exclusively to permanent watersheds. The North American river otters favor bog lakes with banked shores containing semiaquatic mammal burrows and lakes with beaver lodges. The North American river otters avoid water bodies with gradually sloping shorelines of sand or gravel. In Maine, river otters avoided waterways next to mixed hardwood-softwood forests and preferred areas with beaver flowages, longer watersheds, and average shoreline diversity. In Idaho, North American river otters prefer valley habitats over mountainous terrain, and they select valley streams over valley lakes, reservoirs, and ponds. Log jams are heavily used when present. In Florida, inhabitation of North American river otters is lowest in freshwater marshes, intermediate in salt marshes, and highest in swamp forests. During the dry season, they will move from the marshland to permanent ponds, where water is available and food is in greater supply. In Idaho and Massachusetts, ecological elements preferred for latrine sites include large conifers, points of land, beaver bank dens and lodges, isthmuses, mouths of permanent streams, or any object that protrudes from the water. North American river otters often reside in beaver ponds. Encounters between North American river otters and beavers are not necessarily hostile. In Idaho, North American river otters and beavers were recorded in the same beaver lodge simultaneously on 3 separate occasions. The North American river otters may compete with the American mink Neogale viscin for resources. In Alaska, the 2 species living in marine environments indicate niche separation through resource partitioning, probably related to the swimming abilities of these mustelids. Diet: fish, crustaceans. North American river otters may prefer to feed on crustaceans, especially crayfish Cambarus, Paciphasticus, and others, and crabs more than fish where they are locally and seasonally plentiful. In Georgia, crayfish accounted for 2/3 of the prey in the summer diet, and their remnants were present in 98% of the summer sprint. In the winter, crayfish made up 1/3 of the North American river otter's diet. A study conducted on North American river otters in a southwestern Arkansas swamp identified a correlation between crayfish consumption, fish consumption, and water levels. During the winter and spring, when the water levels were higher, North American river otters had a greater tendency to prey upon crayfish. 73% of scats had crayfish remains rather than fish. However, when water levels are lower, crayfish will seek out shelter, while fish become more highly concentrated and susceptible to predation. Therefore, fish are more vulnerable to being preyed upon by otters because the crayfish have become more difficult to obtain. Reptiles and amphibians. Amphibians, where regionally accessible, have been found in the North American river otter's diet during the spring and summer months, as indicated in many of the food habit studies. The most common amphibians recognized were frogs Rana and Hyla. Specific species of reptiles and amphibians prey include boreal chorus frogs Pseudacris maculata, Canadian toads Bufo hemiophrys, wood frogs Rana sylvatica, bullfrogs Rana catisbayana, green frogs Rana clamitans, northwestern salamanders Ambystoma grassal, California giant salamander Dicamptodon insantis. Amphibians and reptiles are more obtainable by the North American river otter during the spring and summer as a result of breeding activity, appropriate temperatures, and water supply for the prey. Birds, waterfowl, rails, and some colonial nesting birds are preyed upon by North American river otters in various areas. Susceptibility of these species is greatest during the summer when waterfowl broods are vulnerable, and autumn. The North American river otters have also been known to catch and consume molting American widgeon merca, americana, and green-winged teal anas creca. Other species of birds found within their diets include northern pintail anas acuta, mallard anas platyhinchos, canvasback Ithia valicinerea, ruddy duck Oxyura jamaicensis, and the American coot Fulica americana. Although they consume birds, North American river otters do not feed on bird eggs. Insects. Aquatic invertebrates have been recognized as an integral part of the North American river otter's diet. Otters consume more aquatic insects in the summer as the populations increase and specific life stages heighten their susceptibility. Most aquatic invertebrates preyed upon by the otters are from the families Odonata dragonfly nymphs, Plecoptera stonefly nymphs, and Coloptera adult beetles. Invertebrates discovered within scats or digestive tracts could most likely be a secondary food item first being consumed by the fish that are subsequently preyed upon by the North American river otters. Mammals. Mammals are rarely consumed by North American river otters and are not a major dietary component. Mammals preyed upon by North American river otters are characteristically small or are a type species found in riparian zones. The few occurrences of mammals found in the North American river otter's diet include muskrats Ondatra zypticus, meadow voles Microtus pennsylvanicus, eastern cottontails Sylvalagus floridanus, and snowshoe hares Lepus americanus. Records of North American otters preying upon North American beavers, Castor canadensis vary. It has been reported in the southern boreal forest of Manitoba. Trappers in Alberta, Canada commonly assert North American river otters are major predators of North American beavers. A 1994 river otter study reported findings of beaver remains in 27 of 1191 scats analyzed. However, many other studies did not report any findings of North American beaver remains in the scat sampled. Threats. The North American river otter has few natural predators when in water. Aquatic predators include the American alligator, Alligator mississippiensis, American crocodile, Crocodylus acutus, and killer whale, Orcinus orca, none of which commonly coexist with the North American river otter and thus rarely pose a threat. On land or ice, the North American river otter is considerably more vulnerable. Terrestrial predators include the bobcat lynx rufus, cougar puma concolor, coyote canis latrans, domestic dog canis familiaris, wolf canis lupus, black bear Ursus americanus, bald eagle Halietus leucosphalis, and in young or small North American river otters red fox vulpes. Cases where otters have been ambushed and consumed by grizzly bears Ursus arctos horribilis and polar bears Ursus maritimus have also been reportedly witnessed near the Arctic region. Most North American river otter mortality is caused by human-related factors, such as trapping, illegal shooting, roadkills, and accidental captures in fish nets or set lines. Accidental deaths may be the result of ice floes or shifting rocks. Starvation may occur due to excessive tooth damage. Threats to North American river otter populations in North America vary regionally. North American river otter inhabitation is affected by type, distribution, and density of aquatic habitats and characteristics of human activities. Preceding the settlement of North America by Europeans, North American river otters were prevalent among aquatic habitats throughout most of the continent. Trapping, loss or degradation of aquatic habitats through filling of wetlands, and development of coal, oil, gas, tanning, timber, and other industries resulted in local extinctions or population declines in North American river otter populations in many areas. In 1980, an examination conducted on U.S. river otter populations determined they were locally extinct in 11 states, and lost significant population in 9 other states. The most severe population declines occurred in interior regions where fewer aquatic habitats supported fewer otter populations. Although the distribution became reduced in some regions of southern Canada, the only province-wide extinction occurred on Prince Edward Island. During the 1970s, improvements in natural resource management techniques emerged, along with increased concerns about North American river otter population declines in North America. Consequently, many wildlife management agencies developed strategies to restore or enhance otter populations, including the use of reintroduction projects. Since 1976, over 4,000 otters have been reintroduced in 21 U.S. states. All Canadian provinces except Prince Edward Island and 29 U.S. states have viable populations that sustain annual harvests. Annual harvest numbers of North American river otters are similar for Canada and the United States, with most pelts being used in the garment industry. In the late 1970s, annual harvest in North America reached approximately 50,000 pelts for a value of $3 million. North American river otters are inadvertently harvested by traps set for North American beavers, and therefore management plans should consider both species simultaneously. While current harvest strategies do not pose a threat to maintaining otter populations, harvest may limit expansion of otter populations in some areas. North American river otter harvests correlate positively with the North American beaver harvests and with the average beaver pelt price from the preceding year. Fur of the North American river otter is thick and lustrous and is the most durable of Native American furs. North American river otter pelts are used as the standard for rating the quality of other pelts. Oil spills present a localized threat to otter populations, especially in coastal areas. Water pollution and other diminution of aquatic and wetland habitats may limit distribution and pose long-term threats if the enforcement of water quality standards is not upheld. Acid drainage from coal mines is a persistent water quality issue in some areas, as it eliminates otter prey. This dilemma prevents, and consequently inhibits, recolonization or growth of North American river otter populations. Recently, long-term genetic consequences of reintroduction projects on remnant North American river otter populations has been discussed. Similarly, many perceived threats to North American river otters, such as pollution and habitat alterations, have not been rigorously evaluated. Little effort has gone into assessing the threat of disease to wild North American river otter populations, so it is poorly understood and documented. North American river otters may be victims of canine distemper, rabies, respiratory tract disease, and urinary infection. In addition, North American river otters can contract jaundice, hepatitis, feline panleukopenia, and pneumonia. They host numerous endoparasites, such as nematodes, cestodes, trematodes, the sporozone Isopora, and Acanthos valens. Ectoparasites include ticks, sucking lice Latigotheris rothschild, and fleas Oropsilla arctomys. Conservation status. Lontra canadensis is listed in Appendix Roman II of the Convention on International Trade. They have been virtually eliminated through many parts of their range, especially around heavily populated areas in the Midwestern and Eastern United States. Appendix Roman II lists species that are not necessarily threatened with extinction currently, but may become so unless trade is closely controlled. The North American river otter is considered a species of least concern according to the UCAN Red List, as it is not currently declining at a rate sufficient for a threat category. By the early 1900s, North American river otter populations had declined throughout large portions of their historic range in North America. However, improvements in water quality through enactment of clean water regulations and fur management techniques have permitted river otters to regain portions of their range in many areas. Reintroduction projects have been particularly valuable in restoring populations in many areas of the United States. However, North American river otters remain rare or absent in the southwestern United States. Water quality and development inhibit recovery of populations in some areas. The species is widely distributed throughout its range. In many places, the populations have re-established themselves because of conservation initiatives. Reintroduction of river otters may present a problem in that it may contaminate the genetic structure of the native population. Habitat degradation and pollution are major threats to their conservation. North American river otters are highly sensitive to pollution and readily accumulate high levels of mercury, organochloride compounds, and other chemical elements. The species is often used as a bioindicator because of its position at the top of the food chain in aquatic ecosystems. Environmental disasters, such as oil spills, may increase levels of blood haptoglobin and interleukin-6 immunoreactive protein, but decrease body mass. Home ranges of North American river otters increase in size on oiled areas compared to unoiled areas, and individual otters also modify their habitat use. Declines in the richness and diversity of prey species may explain these changes.